Are you ready, Arizona? Because if you've watched the news lately, you deserve either a medal or a therapist. Welcome to Shaping Arizona, the political podcast where we actually solve problems instead of just yelling at them on Facebook. You have a great host, Ken Miceli, your potential next governor. And let me tell you, this is not your typical show. No boring speeches, no awkward handshakes. And on this show, we're talking about the real Arizona issues, the border, the economy, public safety, education, and why your grocery bill now looks like a payment for a Ferrari. And the best part? Ken has an amazing panel of guests. They're smart, fearless, funny enough that even politics might become watchable again. This is grassroots leadership with grit, humor, and a plan to bring Arizona roaring back. So grab your coffee, grab your popcorn, and maybe hide your wallet from inflation. Because we're not talking about Arizona's future, we're building it. Now, live from the campaign studio, it's Ken Miceli.
We're not making much hourly. The wage, hourly wages also.
I can relate
Uh,
with your family so well because I'm one of six kids. Growing up here in Arizona, we, we were certainly not wealthy. We all had to work. I
mhm,
had to do chores on, after school or whatever I had to do. There was even times when I had to mow lawns
mhm,
for extra money, and I enjoyed that. I didn't mind working because that was the mindset. Like you said, it's from the root,
mhm.
and you get that knowledge and you use that, you apply that. Um, so my plan is to lower gas, lower groceries, lower a lot of expenses that are everyday that we just can't handle at this point. So you're going to see a different Arizona. There's going to be a lot of good changes. Okay,
Awesome. That's
you
great. So I'm gonna have to worry less, and that way I'll be happier, have a happier life, and to spend more time with
Happy wife, happy life.
happy wife.
yes, sir. Yeah, yes,
Yes.
very good.
For a certain amount of people, probably is good that the prices are very in a high level right now. But when we see the economy, even the economy gets stuck right there because now the investors they don't want to put
Right.
money into any development or any project because the materials are all over the sky. So how we can help the small businesses to keep their businesses going by putting those materials down too.
Absolutely, everything's going to go down with the lower price in transportation. Lumber will go down. The price of transporting lumber, the lowering the price of building a structure, a home. But what's the most important thing? It's the foundation and building it through a good foundation, going through each of the levels, doing your inspections. That's what we want for our life. That's what we want for our family. Is building it from the foundations
And doing it right, correct? Like
and
from
and doing it right. Um, having businesses, one point to make, you don't get paid unless you do things right.
exactly.
Now, can I say that about a politician? There's many things that are done that hasn't gone through the entire system correctly. Okay, as in appointing directors without the Senate approval. I mean, that right there, that's not building a house correctly or building any building.
Imagine there's so many people going to school, um, um, working so hard to be a better person, to go through and get their certifications, MBAs, doctorates, to get that position because that's one of the requirements. But when you see other people, other person that comes in because they know so and they don't have the right qualifications, and they still put him in power. That for me is like I have children, I have kids, they're going to school, we're spending a lot of money, but there's no jobs. How is that? Or they don't get interviews.
And that's another reason why my plan, again, all my policies have plans. They call me the man with the plan. And what you do is you plan your work and you work your plan. So, one of the large issues that I want to see here happen is bring in companies. We will give them the tax breaks that they're asking. They don't have to pay the tariffs, as I mentioned earlier, but they're going to supply us. We have a pharmaceutical company that wants to come in
Mhm.
and provide 20,000 good paying jobs. So, and that's just one of the many people that we've spoken to. But good point. Great. That is so honest and so to the heart. I really appreciate that.
Ken, you got your work cut out for you. There's no question about that. You got to get the state back to being like a family where everybody's looking out for each other. And there's a lot of diverse attitudes and politics and the like. But at the end of the day, we're all Arizonans. We're all United
Yes.
States citizens. We're all Americans. So you've just got to get back to the basics, back to family. And if you can get some of the corruption out, It'll make a big difference. Like you said, if you can get gas prices down, that affects everything because it affects the cost of food and the cost of lumber and everything else.
Yes.
And then I'm sure there's a number of issues you could do to make building permits smoother, faster, easier to get, so you can encourage businesses to get out here. That's the biggest thing you could bring to the state, Ken, is that you could bring businesses out here because you can relate. You are a businessman, and I think you can create an environment where they're going to want to come here, and that's going to help all of us.
Yes.
And definitely create new programs for and facilitate in some point, some sort of funding for the small businesses so they can keep running the state and at the same time giving jobs.
Good point, Eddie. The other thing I've heard is just trade practices. So all these kids in high school,
Definitely.
they either go on to college or they're just get in the workforce of low-paying jobs. But if you can get them into, apprentice programs where they learn to do construction, where they learn plumbing, and they learn to have, the skills we need anyway. If you're going to grow this state, they're going to.
That's one of my
we need the
plans
children
is bringing in and expanding trade schools.
Fantastic.
What does that mean? That means that we can expand trade shows for construction, for healthcare, for auto business. I mean, all those trades have a spot, and they're good paying. They're good paying.
They are
right
good
now.
paying.
Like
jobs.
welding, electricians,
you
air
can do that.
conditioning.
Right.
You can start that in high school, and,
Yes.
and then have specific programs as they graduate if they don't want to go on to college. Because, like someone brought up earlier, you don't have to have a college degree to be successful,
Right.
but you have to have knowledge, and and that should be in something you love. Why does it matter? Who wants to go to a job? I'd rather do something I really love doing and feel proud of it at
Sure.
the end of the day.
Like when we were in high school, when I was in high school, I used to have a class, it was mandatory, home economics
Mhm.
or, Spanish, a language. I don't know exactly how the schools are, what they have, but if they teach our children, to sew, to cook, a lot of kids don't even know how to make an egg. Some of the
That's
kids,
true.
if you ask them to cook
Cornflakes.
an egg, I mean, and this starts from home, I understand. But
Yeah.
if the parents are busy, mom and dad are working because they need to have 2 jobs, part-time jobs. I don't know what happened there, but why can we only have one job, 8 to 5? Why do we have, it's still 40 hours. I mean, it's still,
Yes.
why does it have to be divided? So
Yes.
for me, that's a division, family, children, moms, are worrying about how they're gonna meet ends needs, and they're not giving a lot of attention to the kids, and they're not having the necessary time to teach their kids how to cook, how to sew, how to clean, how to iron. So maybe it starts at school as well, like teach them how to do welding or electrician or
Mhm.
cooking, a mandatory, like a restaurant also.
Right.
My daughter is in a class where they teach her restaurant.
Oh,
Even from serving a table, they teach her the register.
Good.
They teach her how to make cookies, and every day she was happy. Every time she cooked something, she was very happy, and she had to make a video out of that and put it on YouTube. And this also helps the young people structure as well.
That's great. And the trade shows that I want, or the trades that I want to expand, they can go into the high tech level as well,
Good point.
into AI, into they could even help our state government with the fraud, waste, and abuse. Can you imagine one of your children sitting there with a state government person and trying to track down the frauds, and abuse? That would be very significant. But
Yes.
that is training them for the future, right?
Yes.
So, Richard, I know you're a man of the world.
Let me tell you a story. And everybody was talking about it, but it's exactly the story I pictured myself. EVIT, East Valley Institute of Technology. When I was going to high school, it was called Mesa Central. Then it became Mesa Votech. And then it became EVIT. But you have to understand, when I was going to Mesa Central, it was basically a loser school. They had a cage in the middle of the school, and you could smoke in the middle of the school. All the girls had little kids, and the kids were across the street being taken care of at a seminary building. But there was a few of us that were dedicated, and we participated in the VICA Skill Olympics, Vocational Industrial Clubs of America. I won gold medal one year, silver the next in air
Nice.
conditioning. A buddy of mine got it for reprographics. Another guy got it for electricity, silver medal. After that, they wanted to close the school down. And so they took all of us with our medals and they took us down to the downtown Mesa into the city hall, put us up there in front of us. We even had a picture from Mesa Tribune. We were in the Mesa Tribune, all of us standing there with our medals. And we got them to keep the school open. And it went from Mesa Central to Mesa Votech. And now it's East Valley Institute of Technology. And they wanted to close it down.
Yeah.
One of the things that I followed through after leaving and graduating and going on, I participated in helping the City of Mesa Police Department. And I would go into the classes and talk to children, mostly Hispanic, because they didn't have their mom or they didn't have their dad. And I told them, look, you can be somebody. Because by that time, I was the owner of Royal Wall Systems, and I was running my own company. And this is back in 1999. You got to understand, it's amazing to see the eyes of the children and the want. So that gave me an idea. What I started doing is in work, my business, I worked at Chaz Roberts Air Conditioning before I left there. And I started training my employees after work. So I would take the guys and I'd make them work 8 hours a day. And then they'd come back and then I would train them how to weld, train them how to do all the different things. And I'd tell them, look, I'm giving you education.
Yes.
And I'm not charging you for it. But I'm not going to pay you to learn the way to do things right. And I wound up making that company the 2 worst yards in that company, the 2 number 1 yards in that company, because I trained my people well.
Mm-hmm.
You have to understand they kept a record of everything we did, and it was the 2 worst yards in the company. I wound up being the VP of construction for Chaz Robert Air Conditioning, and wound up being the 2 number 1 yards because I would never let it be 1 and 2. I wasn't competing with my own yards. But you had to understand, I had 250 employees. I was running 125 employees on one side, 125 in the other. But my goal was always to make sure that when I was gone, because in 1999 when I started my company, that I would see those people afterwards and they would say, you know what, because of you, I am who I am today.
Excellent.
Because you gave me, because you have to understand, when you put a man to weld a copper line in front of 20 guys, he gets nervous. He gets afraid. It's like us right now being in camera. Well, imagine you're sitting there with 20 guys around you and you're the guy that's sitting there trying to weld and you're shaking. The only way you make somebody become a prominent person is by making them do things that they can't do.
Mm-hmm.
And afterwards, they told me, you know what? I learned a hell of a lot from you because you took things and you made it into the right thing. Then I also turned around and I made my supervisors I'd made them turn around and become employees. Once a month, they had to strap on their tools, and we went out and we did houses. When I put them to do it the first day, they didn't even know where the exhaust fans were. They didn't even know where the 4-inch elbows, the 3-inch elbows, the flex. They didn't know where anything was because they got so used to being a boss that they forgot what reality is.
That's a fantastic model, Richard. I mean,
It's-
most businesses took the time to do that. You could develop people beyond our imagination. I imagine a lot of people that work for you are often owning their own business today,
Yes, yes. One of them right now owns his own business. A couple of them, but one that works for me,
right? That's
the air
fantastic.
conditioning company.
And I understand that. In fact, I've trained employees and I've even helped them start their own business, and now they're very successful. And just like you said, you've got to give them that opportunity. They might make a mistake or two, but that's part of it, right?
That's part of life.
So, yeah, there's many employees that have branched out. They've tried it. Some didn't do so well. They come back and they work for me. And then after a couple more years, they went out again. They tried it again, and they're now off and running.
That's correct.
You know what's funny is when I left Chaz Roberts Air Conditioning, they gave me a watch. And one guy gave me a sign, a piece of sheet metal. With black tape, he wrote, "I will be back. I will work for food." So his mentality was I wasn't going to make it because I told him I'm going to start my own company. I didn't start an air conditioning company. I started a drywall and a stucco company. But years after that, I saw him at a station, and he apologized. And he says, soon after you left the company, my wife packed up everything and left me. And she found some guy on the internet and disappeared.
Oh, okay.
And I said, you know what? I told you when I left there. I said, never say something you don't mean, because you never know what's going to happen with your family. You can't talk about a little boy, a family's little boy, because he turned out to be gay, because you don't know if your kid's going to be gay. Never say something unless you really, truly mean it. And that's the concepts that I've always put in all my people. Learn to think about what you're going to say before you say it, because that's the biggest problem a lot of people have.
Well, it sounds like you're a fantastic mentor, and having 250 people work for you is not easy.
No, piece of cake.
Any most businesses know that the more people you have, the more problems you have at times.
Less sleeping, right?
Yes, yes. So, but I appreciate you. I applaud you. That's a great story. That's a good Arizona story. So, it sounds like you're a man of Arizona. In fact, I hear that they call you Richard the Hero.
Richard, our hero.
Okay, so that's impressive.
And I want to be the person to help you with whatever you need. I want to be able to donate time to help you do what you need to do to be the best you can be.
Thank you, and I appreciate it. As Tim said,
Same, likewise.
as Tim said, I'm going to have a busy schedule.
Yes.
So, if you want to do this, you have to put your mind to it. It could be a 15-hour day. It could be an 18-hour day. Who knows? But you have to solve the problems. You have to take them on. And 2/3 of solving a problem is knowing what it is.
And knowing
You have to
It's surrounding yourself with good people that can give you solid advice.
Sure.
Richard, you would be one of those types of people. That's amazing how you could build people like that.
Yeah, the reason that name, Richard Our Hero, came, I didn't go on to tell you the story, but when I became the 2 number 1 yards in the company, there was 7 yards. And I was running 2 with 250 employees, and they were running the other 5 with 320 employees. My 250 employees did the same amount of work every week that 325 employees did. That's the reason I became Richard Our Hero, because the owner of the company, Chaz Roberts Air Conditioning, Chuck Roberts, said, I need you to come over here and tell me what does it take to make these 325 people do more than what 250 are doing, because your guys are doing the same. No accidents, no injuries, no cuts, no drug problems, no drinking. But I had a system. And I told him, Chuck, I said, you got to understand, do you give me every secret that you made to become who you are? No. Then it doesn't work that way, because you're paying me to run this side of the company. That's somebody else.
There you go.
And so, and I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. And because it wasn't fair. I mean, you wouldn't go over there and run another 325 employees for the pay that you're running 250. It doesn't work.
No, it certainly doesn't. Is there anybody else that wants to pony up some more information on that subject? Otherwise, we can move on to another subject.
Well, I would say that something Richard said that I think is so brilliant is that you made the bosses get in there and work with that regular people and realize how hard that job is, and they fumble around and don't remember what they might have learned 20 years ago as they elevated themselves.
Yep.
There's so many businesses that the entrepreneur or whoever is in charge doesn't really understand what's happening out in the field, and spending a day a month or a couple of days a year, whatever it might be, that gives you a different perspective.
And what I didn't tell you is that all the time that all these supervisors, because it was me and 19 supervisors, all the time we made up that day, we gave it to one superintendent. So all the houses that we did in that day, all the time that went with that, because we were free. We're supervisors. We're overhead. We get donated to that superintendent. The next month, that superintendent. So that's why the 2 yards became the 2 number 1 yards in the company, because I figured out how to make time. be good for everybody.
Yeah, you transferred it over. That's great. That's a great concept. All right. Well, our next subject today is elections. Elections are the foundation of our republic. When ballots are cast, every citizen must know how their vote came in and how it counts. Uh, and that only tells us who are legally eligible to decide the future of our state and our nation. Um, as governor, I will put citizens first, restoring absolute integrity and transparency to our elections. So, with that said, you can jump in at any time.
Well, I remember when I was a little kid, my mom worked the elections on our block in a small city in Los Angeles. And all the neighbors got together, they counted the ballots. At the end of the day, it was a done deal. I think today it's simpler than we make it. I think the fact that they've complicated things with machines and different systems and the like, I don't think we necessarily get a fair vote. You see cities all over Europe now doing a single count in a day, looking at hand ballots and the like, and I think that could be done here. I think if you do that, you're going to get a more fair representation of the people that you're representing in this government, and I think that's the key. That we don't allow cheating and systems get in the way of a simple little thing like a vote.
Yes, and one of my approaches would be to offer a what we call an Arizona voter's card, and that way it's easy to check. When you vote, we prefer that you vote in person without a mask and to have the correct identification. And some states are just giving out driver's license and it has no name. How does that work? How can you be eligible to vote
Yeah.
for our state and our nation? So these are some of the issues that I can correct. They're simple um, as far as the correction goes, but we have to follow through. We have to implement that standard. Okay? So, what do you see out there as far as people wanting to vote in house versus mailing something in? Because another thing is that we have to have a division that can follow up. I mean, how many times can a deceased person vote?
Yeah.
You know, or duplicate votes.
Yeah, it's sad that that's happening across the entire country, but it can only be done state by state because the states have that responsibility. And you'll take that on as governor. So
Yes, absolutely.
I would imagine that you can clean it up fairly quickly.
Well, that is the plan. And a fair election is a good election. So we want to continue on that pathway.
Yeah,
Okay?
we don't all have to agree with each other, and there's a lot of different political opinions, but
Yeah.
we're all the same family. We're all Arizonans. We all want to see this state succeed and do well financially, and like I said, our children need to grow up in a safe environment, and that happens when everyone's financially stable. If people are struggling to get by, that's where you get more crime because there's nothing else to do. So I think
Yes, and if there is crime generated from voting, I think those people should be punished.
Yeah.
I think they should be accountable. What I have is a board, accountability board, and when we agree on something, I'll say, let's put that on the accountability board. That's something that we should need to shape Arizona and to help us through. Okay, so um, as a voter, I know that you want to have someone that is honest and is going to lead your family, correct?
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's what I'm going to do.
Honesty is basically gets you everywhere. When you're honest and you do the things right, you can sleep well at night, knowing that you did the right thing, right? And voting for me, it's very important. Visiting other countries, for example, Mexico, you have to bring a voter card. They give you one, and they even close the liquor stores. They do everything they can so they can go and vote in person. Lines and lines and lines. Um,
she
and
makes a
there's
good point,
nothing.
if I can interrupt.
Yes.
I mean, if you think about it, voting day should be a holiday, so you don't have to go to work. Because I've noticed in this state
Mm-hmm.
that there's massive lines. and
At
people
least for a week.
yeah, well, maybe.
Right.
But it could be one day.
One
And there-
day. Mhm.
and if the people didn't have to go to work that day, or you did it on a holiday,
It's an important date.
yeah,
It's a voting day.
It's a
you
voting
know,
day,
it's
and
just-
in person, it's is the best thing to go for example, the mailing by mail. Um, some people got two votings, one at work and one at the house. I was when I hear that somebody was talking about that. How could they mail two votes, same person, but two different locations? So how about if you send two of them?
Yeah.
How
Well-
are they going to keep track of that? Is that going to
And
count?
yes,
We will
that start with the transparency, right, from personal perspective, because the person who's counting the vote over there, right, if she already got one duplicate vote, she should report that to the authorities, right? Because in some point they hide it, So we need really, really good, honest volunteers into the election department in order to have more transparency.
yeah, it's going to be a difficult thing to overcome. There's a lot of dishonesty that is
Well-
rooted in our state right now, and how you
Yeah.
clean that out is not going to be easy.
Well, my approach is going to be audits before and after
Okay.
and during. We'll have people there watching to make sure that there isn't duplicate voting. And we'll have audits again all the way through. So it should be real time. It should be something that we could look at to see where everything is at. And again, people that need to come in here have to have a valid license. They have to have information or a passport. So one of the things that and you probably experienced this a lot, but growing up and having your mother participate in the elections, you probably were thinking, wow, how does this work? So we want to explain the voting system to everybody and change it so that it's easier and they're more accountable.
Probably have to find a voting system that truly works, because right now I think every state uses their own voting system, and I don't think it's a voting system that's unified throughout the United States. And I believe you, as Ken, come up with the right one and make Arizona greater than the other 49 states. Because the honesty is that it starts from us. It starts from the people.
And I want to be the best governor the state has ever had.
You're going to have to find something that works better than anybody else, and make it so that it's more professional, so that everybody wants to be like you,
And
or
we do
be
have
like
a backup
us.
plan. We do have plans. I'm the man with the plan. And we've reviewed this and we want to implement this. So we want a fair and honest election. That's what we want. Anything else about elections?
Well, the way that, as an immigrant, I have the opportunity to vote and serve this nation. And it's a privilege to be sitting right here next to you, with all my respect. And I think you're going to have, all the structure to make this lovely Arizona great again.
We're going to do that. And you'll watch it happen. And Richard, my hero, will be right next to me.
Yep.
And he'll help us through it. All of you will. So thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank
Thanks for
you.
the opportunity.
Oh, absolutely. And for you viewers, if you want to call in or email in, we want you on our show. We want you to participate. So help us out. Give us your ideas. We would love to see that. Next, we want to talk about Arizona water. Arizona water. We have a plan where we could keep water in Arizona and we won't have to worry about our water crisis in our source. But does anyone, as a builder, I'm sure that you had to deal with water issues as a developer. You certainly had to deal with water issues.
That's one of the most important things for growth. You can't grow without water. And the CAP was a wise system to put in place, but it's got its downsides as well. The water's not as clean as it once was at the tap. You can't just drink it out of the tap as you once did, and
As we all did it.
as we all did earlier on. And it wasn't even that long ago, maybe 20 years ago. It was safe and fresh off the tap. But the other side is for building permits. If you're going to bring in the amount of buildings and industry to this state, you're going to have to be able to supply it with water. And I understand from the recent negotiations on the Colorado River water, we've been cut back even a little bit more. So I'm curious to hear what your plan is.
Well,
to
water
be
is
able-
life.
Okay.
Every family, every farmer needs to have the water. Every business needs to have water. Communities depend on it. So we have a source. We have a plan. I know that we're running out of time. I wish that we had more time. And I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you. Great conversation. It was great conversation with you. And what a great mother you must be.
Yes,
So-
my concerns are, water. Water, like you said, is life. And if we don't have good water out there, we cook, we bathe, we wash our teeth. And a lot of the sicknesses come from, what we eat,
Yeah.
what we take. And if our water system is not safe, if you test the water, I mean, that's very important for our country, our state, and everywhere else.
I agree. And, water, I want Arizona to have a surplus of water. We live in the desert. There's ways of doing this. There's ways of looking into the reservoirs and the aquifers. There's ways of producing a large, substantial body of water for us that will keep Arizona intact with, like you said, Tim. I mean, businesses depend on it. They've got to have that source. So, everyone, especially you out there, thank you for joining us this evening. This is our great panel tonight. A lot of great discussion. And we'll see you next time, every Wednesday, 8 p.m. every week. We'll talk to you then. Thank you.